In the summer of 1976, tensions were high in the demilitarized zone between North Korea and South Korea. That's when a nondescript poplar tree was chopped down by American and South Korean soldiers. Why? Well, because its branches were blocking the view between a United Nations observation post and a South Korean checkpoint. You know, just a normal day in the Cold War. Here is the story of Operation Bunyan. This tree happened to be located at the Bridge of No Return, a place where prisoners were once exchanged after the Korean War, and as the soldiers worked on trimming its branches, a group of North Korean soldiers emerged from the trees and watched them work. What happened next is disputed. But what's not disputed is that moments later, those North Korean soldiers attacked. American reports say that they came out of the trees yelling and waving their weapons. They beat 2 of the officers to death with their own axes. Those officers, Captain Arthur Boniface and First Lieutenant Mark Barrett. The North Koreans claimed self-defense. The US called it murder. And so Washington needed a response. But they didn't want another war. So 3 days later, at dawn, they sent in 16 engineers with chainsaws to cut down that tree. But they weren't going in blind. Behind them stood dozens of heavily armed soldiers from elite South Korean and American units, locked and loaded. Hovering overhead were attack helicopters. Surrounding the perimeter were M728 combat bulldozers, and circling high above, in full view of the North Koreans, were B-52 Strato fortresses, each carrying enough firepower to level a city. F-4 fighter jets streaked through the sky, and on the ground, even the troops carried explosives in case the North Koreans decided to press their luck. It was the largest military mobilization since the end of the Vietnam War. All this for a tree. As it turns out, the North Koreans didn't fancy a fight. As the Americans cut the tree down in under an hour, dozens of North Korean soldiers stood silently on the other side of the zone watching them, guns ready but not fired. Soon after, in a move that surprised many, North Korea expressed regret for the incident, a carefully chosen word, but meaningful in the world of diplomatic power plays. And that was that. The crisis was over before it really began. No shots were fired, no war broke out, but the world came dangerously close to it. All over a tree whose branches had grown too wide in the wrong place.